I always wondered why people were so excited on the Horde for TBC and getting Blood Elves other than the Paladin side of things. But, you get to, there's no really pretty zones. Like, Mulgore is the prettiest scenery that you can find on the Horde of the three capital cities. Orgrimmar is just a bunch of dirt huts, and then the Undercity is all undead and evil looking and just very, very gothic and dreary. But Mulgore has these beautiful plains. You get to look at some beautiful windmills spinning, and it is just great. But today, we are going to be reminiscing about Season of Discovery, all of the phases, and ranking them in a tier list, which I think is pretty fun. It's going to be a nice trip down memory lane, and that is also why we're here in Thunder Bluff, because it all started here in Phase 1 in Thunder Bluff. So without further ado, I'm going to switch it over to the tier list and dive right into it. So I'll see you then. Voop. Alrighty, so we are here at our wonderful, wonderful tier list chart, and as you can see, each number in front of the logo represents each phase that we are going to be discussing. Where they are right now doesn't really matter, but I actually had to add D tier because just to distinctify them. I got so frustrated just sort of thinking this over, talking about it before we record, obviously, but it's just kind of crazy to me that this could cause so much stress, and I really hope that you guys enjoy it, and whether you agree or disagree with me, feel free to tell me why. But anyway, let's get into it. So the very first one is going to be Phase 1, and we are going to put Phase 1 at S tier. Phase 1 of Season of Discovery will probably be one of the most fondest memories I personally have. Wrath of the Lich King was stale, getting old. You could only run ICC so many times. Kata was still unannounced and a while away. They said it would be they gave us that spring to summer of 2024 type ordeal, and it was something like people either stayed doing Wrath or they came over to Season of Discovery, and everyone flocked to Season of Discovery in droves. The rune system, leveling with new abilities, classes, things like that was just so amazing. Being able to actually play your class, whatever it was really awesome. BFD knocked it out of the park. The Ashen Veil event knocked it out of the park. Getting 12 runes for every class was really cool in Phase 1. It was all just fresh and beautifully done, and it's why that Phase 1 was Season of Discovery's peak. It had so many players. It had almost 500,000 players at its all-time high for rating. Obviously, there's even more people that do that and play and are casual, but 500K is still it's the second highest, only to Wrath of the Lich King's launch into rating, and that is truly a masterful feat. And I think Sod's success in that manner is why we're getting what's next. We're getting a new season. Hopefully it's Classic Plus, but we don't know that yet. But I definitely think they learned a lot with Sod, and Sod Phase 1 was the start of it, and it kicked off something truly magical, truly special. To this day, my most watched video is how to get all 12 runes on a druid. I got that out day 2, but there was something special about Sod. This is the first time I leveled every single class to 25 to go and I didn't do it just for the content and make those rune videos. I did it because I truly wanted to see Classic WoW. I wanted to see it change. I wanted to see it develop. I wanted to experience what all those new classes had in store instead of just seeing their 20-year-old versions replayed over and over and yet again. So it was just truly a magical time, and for those of you that missed it, it sucks because Sod Phase 1 was truly, truly special, and it's going to be hard to recreate that. I think maybe if they actually call it full-on Classic Plus and full send it, that launch might be even more special, but that's over a year and 3 months away at this point, so it'll be really cool to see what lies in store and where we are headed with that. But the next one is going to be Phase 2. Now, Phase 2, I've been debating whether to put in A and B, but I'm going to put it in A tier because Phase 2 built upon the same things that Phase 1 did. No Morgana was an awesome, really fun, innovative raid. Very similar to BFD. The runes were still pretty unique. It didn't feel drudging to go and get them. You only went and got, I think, 6 runes in Phase 2. So, half the runes as Phase 1. But it's still really cool, unique spells to change your abilities. You pretty much got 2 for each spec. and it was really and then the Blood Moon event. The Blood Moon event is an absolute home run. This is where it was first iterated. Obviously, it wasn't perfect at launch. The whole resing and stuff, they didn't get that system down. But SOD was meant to be a fun, pure, chaotic fiesta that everyone got to experience and enjoy and go after. So I really, really enjoyed Phase 2 as well. My only complaint is the leveling. Like, literally the biggest complaint about Phase 2 was the leveling and how long it lasted. Like, going 25 to 40 was such a grueling XP journey from what we saw in Phase 1 to going 1 to 25. 25 to 40 was pretty brutal, and it really dampened playing a ton of other classes like we were able to in Phase 1. And so people just kind of gave up, kind of got burnt. And then Phase 2 only lasted 8 weeks, so that really sucked too. But if those are the two biggest complaints about a phase, that is what it is. It's not too bad if those are what you complain about. And I think Phase 2 would be, I would play it again, absolutely. I have very fond memories of it as well. Nomergon, blasting that. They did a good job. And this was still, Phase 1 and 2 still had those 10-man raids also. So you had tight-knit groups, people able to go out there and do it, and for the ease of everything, it was really, really cool. Next, we get to Phase 3, and the entire reason that we have a D tier. So, Phase 3 going right here in the D tier spot. It is just terrible. Terrible game design, terrible implementation, terrible everything. The only thing redeeming about Phase 3 was Sunken Temple was kind of cool, but it was 20-man. But the only thing redeeming about Phase 3 for me is the fact that I founded the Sod Saviors. That is where we were born. We've almost had the Sod Saviors for a year, but it got all the way down to 20,000 raiders, which is crazy low. That's rivaling era numbers that have been out for 5 years. But another redeeming quality of Phase 3 is that it brought the incursions art. Like, the style and the idea of incursions were really, really cool. Taking those unused Emerald Nightmare assets and turning them into something is really, really cool in my opinion, and I think they did a good job of that. But that's about it. Incursions were terrible. They just were too overpowered, too good at everything, and they made literally the game a season of incursions. It was literally the best XP, the best gold farm, the best honor farm, because people would just camp the ramp while everyone was funneled there. It was way too overpowered to be in a classic style game. And then instead of just making them daily quests, they tried to do sort of the AQ style logistics quests, and that's what also made them OP, because you could do them infinitely. People min-maxed the crap out of it, got insane amounts of gold, and it was just like, what the hell is this? This isn't WoW, this is Incursion Simulator. And a lot of people quit. Kata also launched there, and another complaint is that it went 14 weeks. So it was not only that, it was the longest phase and the crappiest phase, and it's just like, how did we get here from Phase 1 and 2 being so amazing? And I really think the damage done in SOD Phase 3 never truly recovered. It hasn't broken 100k since it lost 100k in SOD Phase 3. And next, that brings us to SOD Phase 4. Now, I was debating SOD Phase 4 being A or B tier quite heavily, but I gotta put it at A tier because of one thing, and that kind of revived SOD. SOD was down at the bottom, as I said. It was at that lowest point, and they brought it back, and they brought it back in such a big way. The only thing that was meh about Phase 4 was the heat system, and that being such a key integral part to doing the raid on the highest difficulty. So the heat system went wrong in the way that you had to get the FR gear, and that FR gear wasn't as good as your BIS gear. I think a really awesome solution would have been like, once you had the Flare Core leggings, if you could turn the Flare Core leggings into an enchant that you could then put on your real tier gear or your MC gear or your best and slot upgrades. I think that would have been really cool to just transfer the FR over from that piece to a new piece. However, that that's just an idea in hindsight that would have made a go great. Still in SOD to this day, you still need the FR to go and do the Molten Core at the end to fight the meatball. And I think that's just, like, so many people probably came back for Phase 7 or 8 that left in Phase 3, and they still, to this day, have yet to do the meatball. And it's just like, wow, that's sad, because that is the first new boss we saw in Classic. Give or take, it wasn't that cool or that great. But when Phase 4 did really, really well, was that I really, truly enjoyed, was taking the FR gear, was taking the Timbermaw rep, was taking the Hydraxian Warlords, the Thorium Brotherhood. All of these reputations that are normally useless to most people in Classic, the FR gear that's normally useless in Classic, and making them, one, really good items, and two, things that you can go out in the world to grind for and play with. We had like 50, 60 people on every single day in Phase 4, whether people were grinding previous dungeons, whether people were doing the eruption dailies, whether people were out there they were just out there playing the game and making their character better and doing it together, which I think was so cool and so important. And like, I had such a blast in Phase 4 doing that on 2 characters, getting everything. You had your 0.5 tier set that you could have went and did. That was fun to see everyone rush that in the 2 weeks before MC came out. But it was just such a really, really fun month of people just logging in, playing WoW together, and having a really good time. And seeing that after SOD Phase 3, taking it all the way to the bottom, like, Phase 4 really did a great job of reviving people, engaging people in it, and you're like, oh, so this is why SOD Phase 3 was 14 weeks, so we could get something cool and really try to recapture that magic. It fell short in the Molten Core with Heat, but that's really all that I have to say that was bad about Phase 4. Next, we have Phase 5. So, Phase 5, I'm going to put at B tier, mainly because there was nothing to do. BWL was amazing. ZG was amazing. However, with BWL, like, BWL mastered the hard mode, the flexible difficulty. I think BWL should be their standard for it. BWL is actually the highest peaks for raiders at 88,000. I thought we might break that 100k mark. We did get ZG later on in this Phase 2, so ZG was really cool and interesting, but like, it's kind of just like a cakewalk because it was 10. It was scaled for 10 but allowed 20, so we kind of were able to blast it. BWL also brought that system into the game, so BWL was scaled to 20, allowed 40, so that is where we really start to see it sort of go to this flexible, more enjoyable raid that you can go out there and do. Also, Phase 4 and 5 brought in the world bosses, which were really, really unique, cool fights. I like turning Thunderon into a fight. However, what I didn't like about Phase 5 was that it just kind of was a raid log phase. Like, this is where people started to raid log, because they sort of went away from the world content that we saw in Phases 1 through 4. They kind of finished all the world content. There wasn't much to do. They used all the reps. They used all the gear in Phase 4. And Phase 5, like, you could get Zandalar, but like, they didn't make Bloodvine super OP. They didn't make anything. I pretty much have been raid logging since Phase 5, because my characters are maxed. There's no upgrades. There's nothing for me to go and chase. You got your rep from ZG eventually, so like, you just had to do a ZG every week, and it really started to turn Season of Discovery into Season of Raid logging in Phase 5. And that lack of something to do really sucked. They just still like the PvP event, they just revamped the Blood Moon event and had people go there. I'm not sure if that was Phase 5 or Phase 6, honestly, but it was pretty much Blood Moon or sit at BRM and just fight people with triple honor, which isn't super innovative or exciting, but like, I would have wanted something in the world, something to go out there and engage with, something to do. Next, we have Phase 6. Now, Phase 6, we are going to leave right here in the C tier. The AQ launch was absolutely abysmal. We had PTR vendors appear in the cities. AQ itself launched with the classic health values. So people that entered in like the first 10 minutes had classic health values, and it just was really, really sad to see it go there, because Phase 4 and Phase 5 are very redeeming after the Phase 3 fiesta that we saw. And so it just sucked to take that step backwards. Like, they could have gone with the momentum. They could have pushed it forward, because BWL was at its all-time high with peak raiders since Phase 3. Like, it's post-Phase 3 high at 88,000. People were enjoying it. People were blasted. People were having fun. And then just to launch a complete another fiesta and dud really, really sucked. And I think it did some big damage. Phase 6 is also where it dipped down to 50k. The hard mode for Phase 6, after seeing how great Phase 5's hard mode was a dud as well. You had to you have to run around and click a bunch of obelisks after each bosses. It was just really obnoxious, especially since MC and BWL, you just flipped a switch and it was on. It was set this difficulty. It was really, really confusing. I messed it up with our raid the first clear through. I didn't know you had to just click an obelisk at every single boss point. Some of the obelisks are hidden in corners and not really intuitive for where you would go to click on them. It just wasn't very engaging or fun or intuitive. And then as far as mechanics go, this is true for all three, for 4, 5, and 6. They kind of just took the enhanced SOM mechanics that they added, which most people didn't play Season of Mastery, so it was new, but it wasn't really new. So that doesn't really weigh too much. And then once again, the war effort was auto-completed, so AQ was just open. You didn't have to do it, which I think for a seasonal expedited server is okay. But that is the bulk of the world content to go out there and do, to get your Cenarian Circle rep, to get all that. But with it just being auto-completed, it kind of dulled my drive to go out there and go and complete it and do it. However, I didn't even do the Black Karaji mount, because I farmed it so hard in 2019 with my guild that I'm tired of it. I don't want to kill any more bugs. It's such a massive chain, so I just sort of skipped over that. Didn't really care to do it again, and I think it's kind of it's fun to do it once, but doing it after is just a grueling, draining process and a lot of work and effort, and I don't know, it just doesn't appeal to me anymore at this point, so I just kind of skip over it. Next, we have Phase 7. So Phase 7, I'm debating B and A tier, but I gotta give it to A tier because of one reason and one reason only: Karazhan Crypts. So Karazhan Crypts was the peak of new content. It was where we got to finally see a truly new, well-designed dungeon of Karazhan Crypts. Doing the attunement, going out there and doing it, going into the dungeon for the first time. It was such a magical experience. I literally did it. This is the most I played since Phase 4 in the world and engaging with it. I logged in every day for 3 weeks, getting me and my guildies their BIS gear from the Enclave, prepping for Nax Ramus, getting in there for that. The invasions and farming out there, getting the Remnants of Valor. While people think it's a borrowed power retail system, it accomplished one thing, and that was getting people to get out there, go actually play the game, engage in the world again. And that was something that we lost since Phase 4. We'd had 3 phases of not doing that, not playing the game, not doing stuff. And while it did devolve into degeneracy and people just sort of AFK'd and didn't actually participate, the first few weeks of Phase 7 were really cool to see people get out there, go enjoy it, go blast, and have a lot of fun. And then Karazhan Crypts was an absolute home run. I know many people came back to the game to go in there and do Karazhan Crypts. My only wish is that they maybe made it lower gear and just committed Phase 7 to be a full catch-up phase. Because that's kind of what they did with the Sanctified system, the Borrowed Power system, if you will, and allowing people to get all that gear so people could catch up, come back for what they had planned next, which is Phase 8. So I know there's been a lot of debate about the Scarlet Enclave, whether we needed the buff, whether we didn't, whether it was too hard, whether it was. But all in all, I gotta give Phase 8 S tier. While it sucks that it's the end, it sucks that it's the last one. While that makes me immensely sad, Scarlet Enclave was a knock out of the park home run. This was the classic dev team's first time making a brand new raid, and the first one that the entire world got to see in classic. The fights are fun, the fights are engaging. They maybe got it a little bit wrong. They held off, they didn't give us the PTR. They gave us New Avalon and the quests there and a lot of stuff with New Avalon that we got to experience, play, go after, which I covered immensely, and I really enjoyed it. I wish New Avalon had more like more of a reason to go there and more engaging. But at the end of the day, it is classic. You can't really do that without adding like daily quests and making people do dailies and quest hubs for replayability. But without having a rep tied to it, I think it's a little hard to make the new Avalon stuff really engage players and have them keep going. But the first couple days when it hit the live server, going out there and doing it, getting all the reps, professions, recipes, stuff like that was really fun. I just knew them all and did it all in the PTR, so I was pretty expedited with that. But I think it was a good design. It's really cool to see them drop a whole new area. Like, what's so special about New Avalon is it is not in the classic game. Everything else we got was actually in the classic game to begin with. Like, Karazhan Crypts is there. You can go there and explore it, and it is relatively the same from the dungeon that we got, without the darkness and without everything there. So, like, everything else to this point was something that was already in the game. Phase 8, they truly developed something new and dropped it into the classic world. And if whatever's next is truly classic plus, that is a huge thing that should be looked at with much praise, because I mean, I don't know how to make games, obviously I'm not a dev myself, but I think that is a really cool thing to showcase, and it gives me hope that whatever's next, hopefully classic plus, will be on that level. We will see things like New Avalon. We will see new areas spread throughout the classic world where we can engage in. And I don't even want to see them all be max level stuff. You could do so much stuff with just adding like new zones. Like, it could be like a level 40 to 50 questing zone for all I care, which is new quests, new things like that, new content for people to explore, maybe a few new dungeons in there. Something like that would be truly awesome. It doesn't all have to be in-game content. I think Sod's phasal system really sort of gimped that process of having that. Like, you can't just add a random like level 40 to 50 dungeon after everyone suffered through 14 weeks of phase 3. But all in all, phase 8, knock out of the park, home run with SE. I know SE had problems. I know SE wasn't balanced perfect for 20 people. I know it might have been too hard for people. I know like those are raid specific problems that if it was a full-on Classic Plus launch or something like that, if they actually had time to build and refine, I think it would have been great. I think we got gimped at our phase 7 power level, nerfing all the classes, tuning everyone down to then put us in phase 8. But phase 8 was a really hard challenge, and like me with the Sod Saviors, we're a community guild. I will literally accept anyone. I only ask that you come prepared. You know some fights, you come enchanted, and you bring consumes. You do all that, you're welcome in my raids. And so taking a community guild like that, and you can define it as semi-hardcore if you want because of those requirements, but being able to clear the entire Scarlet Enclave, we brought like 30 to 35 people to do it, but that is how the game was designed. I know we're not the best raid. We took the people and we went in there and got it done, and killing Reborn Council unnerved, killing Calderon unnerved for the very first time, were some of the most special moments for Season of Discovery for me. So this is my ranking. These are the phases I enjoyed. These are the phases I enjoyed and why. It just kind of really was a really awesome journey, and so looking back on these in hindsight has been really fun, and I plan on doing a full-on Hindsight series. So what worked, what was awesome about phase 1, what didn't work, what was tedious, and stuff like that. So you got a little glimpse of that with this tier list, but I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say, what your favorite phases were, and so on. So until next time, I'll see you later. Hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.
Hey you. Yes you. Are you still there? Well, I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this entire video and making it to the end here. If you enjoyed this video, definitely check out the other videos about World of Warcraft listed in these playlists down below. And thank you again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.